bad girl. Muerdecita que muerde. Yum.
Warrior No! Hey everybody, welcome back to Spin Arc. I'm here with PD and Cal, and we're talking about Warrior Nun. We finally watched all the episodes. We reviewed the entire thing, and now we're going to talk to you about what our thoughts are on this particular show. Is it the hottest thing out there on Netflix? Should you give it another chance? Or should we just say pat it and get out of it? So here, I'm going to put it over to my boy PD. PD, your thoughts on Warrior Nun?
Warrior Nun for me was just an enjoyable romp. It has had a thing where you had someone, the lead character, who was actually, when we first met her, she was dead, and then she's brought to life with this halo, and the next thing you know, she ultimately has a second lease on life. So that's what the most of the early episodes are. And there's the other aspect that's like Marvel, because you do hear her thoughts inside of her head. It's from her point of view. So there's a couple things going on. These warrior nuns that she's kind of fell into. There's also the Vatican that's involved, and there's also this woman that's into this technology that connects to the other world and her son. So there's a lot of elements here that converging. But, ultimately we were able to figure out who the bad guys are. And then when we get to the end, it kind of shifts. There's a couple of twists that goes on. But ultimately for me, it was fun. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the supporting characters. I think Mars brought up the last time when one of the warrior nuns put on her full mask. And it's just like, she should just go out and fight like that without seeing her face the entire time, because it's really cool. It was just a fun series. It's just one of those fun things that I wanted to complete in like sort of one day. So that's it for me. But I enjoyed it a lot, and I hope to see more.
Cal, bring it down.
Yeah. I was disappointed thoroughly, and I had high hopes for it. I took the time to look over the series, so I had, the comic series, so I had a little bit of background on it. I just felt that the lead character never became the lead character, never became the necessary focal point, but just more like a bouncing dot, like a guy just like almost like a plot device rather than the lead character. Just never fully formed, at least, for me, just never fully formed, and I waited a long time. The peripheral characters, the supporting cast, to be honest, the girl who they said should have had, and I can't remember her name, Lilith, who should have had the halo, she turned out to be more interesting than the lead character at the end of the day. And after a while, I said, well, why doesn't she get it? This one doesn't want it. And this isn't even the type of storyline where this is the person refusing the call, the hero's refusing the call, and then eventually they're going to go and become the hero. They would just refuse the call, right up until the very end. And even then, we don't get to see that sort of heroism that I was expecting from it. So I was like, so why don't you just give it to her at the end of the day? She wants it, and she looks like she'd actually be good with it. There was another character, I can't remember, who was more interesting. One of the other girls there, but I can't remember her name, unfortunately. The only other one was Shotgun Mary, who I thought started off pretty well and then just fizzled for me at the end of the day. She was there, and it was kind of like, well, why are you here? What are you doing? What are you bringing to this other than the fact that you got some cool lines and some cool scenes? What other reason are you there for? But the biggest problem I have with it is that this was predicated on, there's a religious aspect of this, a Christian aspect of this that the show's predicated on. And at first I was like, okay, let me see where we're going to go with this, because in this show, they're saying that no, God has to be an actual entity, and then you're going to have heaven, hell, angels, that sort of stuff, demons, fine. And they made that same cop-out that they always want to make when it comes to religious stuff. The church is somehow underhanded, scheming. They're doing clandestine things. They're trying to keep people enthralled with religion so they can control the population and so on and so on and so forth. And I'm asking myself, but how can you say that when you know that there are actual demons that exist? So they're just supposed to run rampant, and the church is supposed to let people make whatever decision? I said, that's a horrible premise to put on. That's a horrible premise to put the show on. And then there are Christian aspects of it, like Christian lore that they could have went with, like being born again, spirit as opposed to actual physical nature that I thought that they touched on that could have really been examined, and they might have been able to come to some. I'm not talking, it doesn't necessarily have to be some incredibly highfalutin empyrean notion, but they could have done a better job than they did. Instead, this just turned into the everyman story, the woman who's thrust into these extraordinary events and can't find, they're greater than the power that the person has, even if the power does have this halo, and they have to try to, sort their way through the world with it. And it just never happened. And the ending made certain that I wouldn't get to see or have any sort of resolution with it at the end of the day. So yeah, it's a shame because I really looked forward to the show. I was hoping for a lot more than was there, and they had so much to work with. And instead it just became very, very rote, very paint by the numbers, very uninspired, and at the end of the day, very disappointing.
Right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Cal. I mean, Warrior Nun was in July, the top show for Netflix, and most likely will get a second season. I don't know if they've announced it yet, but I think that it's definitely into that. It was one of their top shows for the whole month, even though it came out pretty late. I thought it was pretty good. I have to agree here with Petey. I thought that this is a whole new world. Their characterization of the powers based on, I forgot what the name of the metal, but the fact that you have, the godly and the human trying to get together and working out. And I also like the character. The character I thought was key. She wasn't supposed to be like some strong standout character like how you have the supporting characters. Like we had Beatrice, the warrior nun who could do all the kung fu, and she'll throw down the veil. And we also have Lilith, who comes from a lineage of people who had the halo. She stood out too because you know what she wanted, what her motivation is. And then you also had Shotgun Mary, and where she was coming from, where she was not necessarily a nun, but she was close with the order and was working with them, because you find out no one in the story is what he or she appears. Everyone has a history, a backstory. Even the main character. And one of the great things about her is that we get into her head and we see how she thinks, and we see all the doubts that she has. So it's not the typical hero like, oh, I'm the hero, I'm going to save everybody. No, this is a story about someone who she gets the second chance, and how does she handle it? Unfortunately, the second chance comes with problems, and that the halo comes with responsibilities, or responsibilities that she's told that is coming with the halo. And now we find out something a little different as the story evolves towards the end. I thought that it was pretty good overall. What would you do if you had superpowers, but based on these powers, you have to do X, Y, and Z, or give up the power, which could also mean this your death. And so what are you going to do, especially when you never had the ability to do a lot of things like enjoy life because you were quadriplegic? You're going to run and do all the things. You're going to go to bars, you're going to go to parties, you're going to hang out, you're going to try to experience life. Things. You're going to do that. You're not going to say, hey, you know what, hey, you don't really want it, but you want the ability to live. And that I thought was pretty interesting in and of itself, and how they took care. Now, I did have a problem with the story overall and how it ended, and we had this discussion with the guys where the issue was that, I thought that, I think they were so sure that they were going to get a season 2 that they had a lot of dangling storylines at the very end, that I thought that at least they should have probably completed some of them. I know people bring up the Lost. Hey, Lost had a whole bunch of dangling storylines also. But, for me, I prefer to have at least some resolution at the end of one season and going on to another. It doesn't have to be everything is resolved. It doesn't mean that new things couldn't come up. It's just the fact that there were so many open storylines. So is this a spoiler review?
I mean, whatever. I mean, when you brought up the Lost thing, the thing about Lost is that from season 1 to season 2, nothing was. From the first 3 seasons, nothing was really resolved. So a lot of these long form shows that are out now, outside of say the Sopranos, which is more of the actual drama, but a continuing story. A lot of the dramas that are out now have the long form storytelling. A lot of the pieces kind of get picked up. They do different things. They jump other places, stuff you don't even expect to happen. goes a different way. So it's like they keep a lot of things up in the air so they can keep the audience on their toes. So.
No, and I totally understand that, but resolve a couple of things. We had like 4 different storylines, at least that I can think. The election of the new pope, the Adriel they're trying to go after Adriel, and come to find out the dude is still alive and he wants his damn halo back. You know what I'm trying to say? What's going on with Lilith?
If it's even a halo.
And then you have what's going on with the child with the doctor. So there's a lot of things that we at least was hoping some of these things will get resolved, and as well as what's going to happen with the main character. And it's frustrating at the end, but am I going to go back for season 2? Yes, I will. I think it's interesting.
The other character, when they win, that was a surprise because I didn't really expect him to kind of show up, and they kept talking about the bones. So it was just like, okay, they're going to go this, and then obviously she's going to have struggle getting out. And it's like, oh, this guy's here. But then when you see him, he never puts it inside of him. He's just like, I'm using it as a weapon. Like I'm using this halo as this all-killing weapon. And then he has an odd moment and say, hey, you see this thing? You thought this was a demon, right? I'm like, this guy is really throwing a lot of different things at us. So it was He was fun when he came in there, and they were calling her actually she was going by the name of the character that was in the comic book but at the same time, that character in the comic book is the hottie. Like she don't look like a regular warrior in a regular outfit. Like she has a revealing costume in the comic book. So
yeah, she does. But you see, coming back to the show, is that this is someone who got powers that they didn't necessarily want, right? But the key thing here, and this is what the father of Vincent, I think, is saying, is that the Halo chose her, right? And so it's not necessarily the person that you train like Lilith to get the Halo. It's the Halo goes to whoever, and it works for her. And we see this in the Mother Superior, who had the Halo, who was trained for the, and the Halo rejected her. So it's almost like if you're watching Stargirl, which I think is a fun show, they have the staff, the Stargirl staff.
I'm out of here. You did not go to Stargirl. You did not go to Stargirl. Why would you go there? You saying they got better since that first terrible episode? Or she's still treating Stripesy as like a jerk?
I still think it's a pretty good show.
Oh, whatever.
I think the ratings
back to the topic at hand.
We'll talk about that later. The finale is this week, by the way.
Yeesh.
But yeah. So, I mean, I overall, I like the show. I will definitely be coming back. The supporting characters are strong, and the stories in there are very interesting. Anything else you guys want to give?
That Jeff Johns has too many jobs on Stargirl. That's what I got to say. All right, that's what you wanted. You weren't going to say. I'm going to say it. All right.
I agree, and because of that, he can't get the other work out in terms of the comic rights.
Well, hey, at least it's an improvement from when he was running DC Entertainment, I guess. DC.
He collecting the check, not putting out any work.
Bite your neck, bro. Bite your neck. All right. Jeff Johns, don't listen to these guys. They're talking out their necks.
Well, you got a resume in with Jeff Johns too?
Hey, our resume is with everybody, bro.
I'm talking about your resume. You keep saying our resume, but I don't ever remember seeing anything with our names on it.
It's at the bottom, bro, in the footer. So, So listen, all right. So, hey, everybody, thanks for stopping by and listening to us. Spin a rack. Out.